Hey guys, Blazen here. In my last video, we talked about Warhammer 40k 500 Worlds, and Titus becoming captain again, Gadriel making a comeback, and Mataris is steaming alongside them. While reading that post in the last video, two other characters were left a mystery, that being Captain Acheran, who most likely died, and Chairon, which his fate was mostly unknown. And fortunately, and unfortunately, we found out what happened to these two characters. Now normally when it comes to blog posts or community posts, etc., I usually read them firsthand and then I summarize and consolidate them for you guys to easily consume and understand. But in this case, I think I'm going to read this post word for word, for the most part. So this latest post from GW goes through the history of previous captains and just every captain within the second company of the Ultramarines. Now there were two captains that came before Titus, so we're actually going to skip them. If you want to read about them, of course, I will always leave the blog post down in the description. The only thing I'll mention is the captain that came before Titus was named Lucian Trajan, whatever. Basically, what happened to him was he died from a rescue op against the Eldari, which are shitty space elves. And unfortunately, he was gunned down along with the squad, but his body was recovered by none other than, at the time, Sergeant Titus. Now this sets the stage on how Titus became captain in the first place. So from this point forward, I'll be reading word for word. Demetrian Titus. Though he was content to remain a sergeant and had no aspirations for overall command, Titus eventually accepted Marnius Calgar's request that he led the second company. A decade after taking up the mantle, Titus embarked on his fateful mission to the Forge world of Graia, during which he slew the Chaos Sorcerer Nemeroth, but was taken into custody by Inquisitor Thrax, after his subordinate, Leandros, questioned the captain's seeming resistance to the influence of Chaos. Thrax would later be consumed by Chaos himself, a workplace hazard for the Inquisition, and Titus was freed when the Grey Knights purged the Inquisitor's holdings. Believing he had brought shame to his chapter, Titus elected to join the Death Watch as a Black Shield rather than return to the Ultramarines. Cato Sicarius. With Titus missing and his own first sergeant Sidonis slain during the events of Graia, it was decided that Cato Sicarius would take the reins of the second company due to his exemplary martial skills and uncompromising service to the chapter. He accumulated many honors and awards during his time leading the company, such as earning the Valor Crest and being hailed the Knight Champion of Macragge. Sicarius' captaincy covered many decisive campaigns for the Ultramarines, including the notorious Damnos incident and the returned Primarch Rabute Guilliman's Terran Crusade. After being dispatched back to Macragge with the first host of Primaris Space Marines, his ship was lost in the warp for 5 long years, during which time the Ultramarines declared Sicarius missing in action and instated a new captain in his place, Sevestus Acheran. Like many captains, Sevestus Acheran originally served as an officer under his predecessor, but was not with Cato Sicarius when his fateful voyage was swallowed up by the thrashing of the Great Rift. He led the second company through many of the defining conflicts of the early Indominus Crusade, seeing action on Vigilus within the Pariah Nexus in Ultramar during the Plague Wars and in the Fourth Tyrannic War. Most famously, he commanded the company when Titus was reclaimed during the wars of the Residius system. You may have encountered him yourself while playing Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. Acheran's illustrious service came to an end upon the high world of Trigue, a vital and seemingly loyal stronghold that safeguarded the Pyremote system from Tyranid incursion. After a Munitorum survey vessel and its escort of Mordian Iron Guard disappeared, letting out a single psychic scream before vanishing without a trace, Acheran led a strike force to investigate, accompanied by his decorated lieutenant, Brother Chairon. What they found was a powerful gene-stealer cult embedded in the primary hive. Their influence was stretching from the Undercity all the way up to the Spires, poised to crack open the world's defenses when the Tyranids arrived. The cult's uprising had already begun, and threatened to spread across the planet. In order to contain it, Acheran chose to activate the Hive's anti-atomic lockdown protocols, sealing his entire force inside the city with a nearly endless horde of enraged cultists. This noble choice to sacrifice himself and his brothers kept the Genestealer cult bottled up and saved the world, and a vulnerable sector, from certain doom. Every last Space Marine that landed on Trigue was slowly worn down in a series of increasingly desperate battles. When Imperial reinforcements arrived to purge the last of the cult, they discovered that Acheran, Chairon, and the rest of their brothers had sold their lives to untold numbers of Xenos hybrids. Dimitri and Titus. Again. After his legendary victory against the Tyranids and Thousand Sons in the Residius system, his survival on a seemingly suicidal mission to destroy Chaos artifacts on... what the fuck? And further successes against the Tyranids on several worlds in the Basterior subsector, Titus was the clear candidate to succeed Acheran. Misgivings from many of his peers had long since been silenced, and Titus took up the role, swearing to honor his former captain's legacy as he leads the second company and fulfills the duties of the Master of the Watch, a responsibility of the role. It is now Captain Titus's duty to fortify the borders of Ultramar and defend his chapter's realm, even as it expands at Guilliman's command. Every new conquest is another drain on resources, and his task is difficult in the extreme. But with his Wardens of Ultramar adding their substantial strength to his cause, and an agile fleet of elite warriors at his command, Titus is exactly a space marine for the job. And that is the end of the post and where we're up to now at this point, with Titus and a nice history of other captains that commanded the Ultramarine Second Company. Overall, it is sad to hear that Acheran and Chairon died, but at least it seems like they went out like heroes. Personally, I would like to see this shit animated. Either fan animated or something official by GW, which I doubt, or maybe some sort of Space Marine 3 prologue. I don't think it's cool to kill off characters that were seen in video games. Well, maybe in the case of Acheran, I think GW made him. Like, he was already a pre-existing character, I believe. But Chairon, I'm pretty sure, that's not a GW character. I'm pretty sure Saber Interactive made him. But I think my point still stands. I don't like when video game characters get killed off in a book or like a fucking post like this. So at the very least, I hope to see this animated someday. And that's pretty much it for this video, and overall my thoughts on what happened with Acheran and Chairon. Rip the homies. We traded one black man for another. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, share the video around, and leave a comment down below on what you think of this story. And until next time, peace.